The exciting solutions offered by agricultural finance and other innovative programs would not be possible without support of our strategic partners. Since 2005, a series of grants from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation have included monies to fund rural banks in Malawi and Mozambique, startup microfinance banks in 4 African countries, micro-insure to increase access to health, life, and weather index crop insurance. Most recently, Opportunity announced a program co-funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the MasterCard Foundation. Opportunity will use the joint grant to provide over 1.4 million people with access to savings accounts, including 950,000 in rural areas. It will also roll out the comprehensive financial services to more than 90,000 smallholder farmers living in poverty. We are honored to have with us today a representative from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation who will give us an inside perspective on our strategic partnership. Please welcome Clara Veniard.
I'm pleased and honored to have the opportunity to speak with you today about the very exciting work that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is doing in financial services and the very special relationship and long-term relationship we have with Opportunity International. So I'm also going to tell you today the story about a woman called Punza. But before I do, I want you to think about your story. Think with me for a moment about your cash flows. What do you earn on a monthly basis, on a daily basis? What are your expenses like? Here are my cash flows. As you can see, like many other Americans that still have a well-paying job, my revenue is relatively stable, and my expenses fluctuate a little bit, but not too terribly much. Now think a little bit about your wallet, and what are the items that you have in your wallet? You probably have an ATM card, which means that you have a bank account and can easily access cash. There's probably a checkbook to pay bills that you can't pay on the internet. And you probably have a credit card so that you can do purchases and maybe do a big shopping spree when your daughter goes off to college and you have to buy a bunch of things. You might even have some cash, although if you're like me, you probably have like $20 these days in there. At home, what do you have? What are the financial instruments that you have at home? You probably have insurance, a mortgage, possibly. We have many options to organize our financial lives, even though it seems like it would, well, it'd be pretty easy. And when's the last time you went to a bank branch? You have the internet to access your bank account. You have the internet to access also your credit card and you know, other financial instruments that you may be using. And you also can go to an ATM when you need to access cash, although, again, if you're like me, you probably don't do that very often. Now I want you to look at Punza's cash flows. Punza is a sheep intestine seller in South Africa. And as you can see, I mean, although she's not the poorest seller, her income fluctuations are so great that they're very difficult to manage. We talk about the poor who live on $2 a day, and it's not that they live on $2 a day every day, or that's what they earn. They earn $10 one day and nothing the next. Imagine if you're a farmer again, I mean, and you're only earning once a year. Now imagine if you're like Punza, and think about what she has in her wallet or her bag or wherever she keeps her valuables. She doesn't have a bank account, probably. She doesn't have a credit card that she can use. She doesn't have a mortgage on her house. Punza needs a portfolio of financial services, including insurance, savings, credit, in order to be able to manage these amazing income fluctuations. I mean, she actually needs it so much more than we do. So based on the core belief that all lives have equal value, the central objective of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is to give every person an equal opportunity to have a healthy and productive life. And we look to do this through our work in U.S. education by providing better access to healthcare and better healthcare in the developing world. And that's where our famous, very renowned work in vaccines comes up. And we're also working to help the poor in developing countries have a better opportunity to overcome hunger and poverty. And we do this through work in agriculture, through work in financial services, and water and sanitation. So I'm going to tell you more about specifically the financial services for the poor team, which is where I work specifically. We've decided to focus very specifically on savings. Why? Two reasons primarily. One is that we see that the poor really need a way, and they're demanding saving services and bleeding money and inadequate options. Secondly, it's also the most difficult, or one of the most difficult services to provide. So before I leave here today, I want you to go with 3 takeaways. First of all, like I said, the poor are demanding saving services. Secondly, saving services are difficult to provide because they're hard to deliver and very costly to deliver. And thirdly, Opportunity International has a critical role to play in delivering these services. So how much are the poor bleeding in inadequate savings options? Don't you just put money into a bank account, like forget about it and come back in 10 years and it's still there? Multiple studies find that the poor, when they save informally, they're losing on average 20% of the value of their savings. If we've applied that to households in Mexico, for example, that means that they're using 30% of their disposable income just to maintain the value of their savings. 30% of their disposable income. That's like saying, I mean, you put your money into the stock market at the beginning of the financial crisis, saw it drop, and now you have to go pay it all back. Why do people, you're probably wondering, like, well, so why would you be losing 20% of the value of these savings? And it happens for multiple reasons. First of all, savings, informal savings, are costly to maintain. What's an informal saving? That's someone putting money, buying a cow as a saving and having to maintain it. You lose money. So there are a lot of costs associated with savings. So savings are costly to maintain. You have to feed the livestock. Livestock can die. You might have savings in a tin, which can be stolen, or maybe your drunken husband takes it away so he can buy himself some beer. And sometimes you're also in a hurry. So typically, if an emergency comes up and your child gets sick and you need to take them to the hospital, that means that you might have to sell your jewelry that you've been saving up in a hurry, and you sell it at a significantly lower price. Or people resort to moneylenders and other quick, easy options to get money quickly, and even though it's going to cost them a lot of money. So Opportunity Bank of Malawi actually, I think, has a favorite story that they tell, which I also really like, and I think really exemplifies this issue of the poor needing formal saving services in order to safeguard the value of their savings and be able to access them quickly and easily when they need them. There was a woman once who had $150 saved in Opportunity Bank of Malawi. One day her husband died, and his family, so her in-laws, came to Opportunity Bank of Malawi's ATM, and they tried to go with their finger and try to take money out of her account. And in Opportunity Bank of Malawi, you need the finger in order to be able to access the owner's fingerprint in order to be able to access the funds. Since they didn't have her fingerprint, they weren't able to take away her $150 in savings. And she was able to keep them. And so now it's actually, this is pretty common in Malawi, and so it's actually become standard practice that when a young woman gets married, you tell her, first thing you do, go to Opportunity Bank of Malawi and open up a savings account and put your money there, because then your in-laws won't be able to take it, and your drunken husband also won't be able to access it. And there's another story, and I've always wanted to know if it's actually true, that I heard of a woman, also another woman who came in Malawi and opened up an account. And again, her husband tried to take the money. And when he couldn't access it, the next day, 400 women came to Opportunity Bank of Malawi to open up an account. I don't know if that's true, so I need to find out if that's true. So the reality is, so as a result of this, when low-cost savings are offered, their uptake is really high. Some of my partners in Africa have a ratio of 3-to-1 or 5-to-1 for every loan that they make, of 3-to-1 savings for every loan that they make. The problem with savings is, as I told you in the beginning, is that they're very hard to deliver. And here you see, this is a bank in Tanzania, actually, And it's a pretty impressive picture, all the people crowding around in there. But the reason savings are hard to deliver is two reasons. It's costly for the bank, and it's costly for the client. It's costly for the bank because every time you go into a bank and try to do a transaction or do a transaction at a teller, it costs the bank at least $1 to do that transaction. Now imagine if you're Punza and you're trying to save $1 or $5 or $10. It's just not cost effective for the bank, so they can't accept it. Secondly, it's costly for the client, and that happens, one, because maintenance fees and minimum balances are really high. I've seen, there are countries it can cost, some banks will have a $100 minimum balance, a $500 minimum balance. Again, if you're living on $2 a day, you're not going to have that amount of money. The poor also, and this is probably the most critical point, the poor don't live close to branches. And so if you're going to be saving on a regular basis, you can't access the bank. I've seen clients in Ethiopia traveling an entire day so that they can save $1, the entire day. I've seen in Brazil, they have to travel 4 days by boat in some towns in order to be able to get to the bank branch. There was one study we did in Malawi that found that households that want to access a traditional bank typically have to pay $4 in order for every trip that they do to the bank branch. It's just not feasible for them to reach there. Clients also complain of things that I've heard called revolving doors. And so, in some countries, you'll have to have a revolving door at the bank branch, and they don't understand how to use it. And so that makes them uncomfortable. So clients don't feel welcomed in the branch. They're worried about the way they look. They're worried about the way they're going to be treated. They're worried about how much money they're going to be bringing into the bank and being laughed at for having so little money. I've even heard one story also about women complaining that they have to take a shower before going to the bank because you want to look good when you're going into the bank, and it takes them a long time. So that's why banks that are focused on this segment of the market have such a critical role to play, like Opportunity International. As a result, less than 10% of the world's poor have access to safe, affordable savings. Thankfully, I'm going to now move into the vision or the excitement. We have an opportunity to change that, and Opportunity International is playing a critical role in that. And it's a part of it is two trends that are changing now. One is the development community is is really realizing just how important savings are for the poor, and there really is a great focus, I think, across the board in trying to provide greater access. Secondly, technological advances are allowing banks to offer financial services outside of the bank branch. And this is what really excites Bill, because he's a tech guy and he loves seeing the impact that technology can have. As a result, we at the foundation have decided to focus on 3 areas that are going to provide greater access to savings and other financial services. In products, we're working on designing better products that are and understanding how the poor use savings services and how better products can be designed to increase their access. In distribution, we're supporting banks like Opportunity International so that they can provide more clients with access to savings. And we're also supporting their efforts and other companies' efforts in creating new delivery channels that are lower cost and will be closer to the communities where the poor live. And we're also working in financial systems policy to raise awareness of the importance of savings and the importance of regulators having greater flexibility in their regulation so that banks are better able to reach these poor segments. So now I want to tell you a little bit about our relationship with Opportunity International, because it's one of the oldest relationships we have in the financial services team. It began in 2005, which was actually even before we were really formed, and with the first grant focused on increasing access to financial services in Malawi and Mozambique. In 2006, we expanded that and also added in a subsidized loan so that Opportunity International could also expand access in other countries of Africa. This grant was then further expanded in 2009 with a greater focus on agriculture and savings and increasing access to those services in multiple countries across Africa. We also have a grant to Microinsure, which is Opportunity International's insurance broker, to provide also greater and better access to insurance products. Opportunity International is a strong partner of the foundation because we share a lot of the same vision and commitment and desire to do similar kinds of things. They share a commitment to serve the poor living under $2 a day. Here's a picture of Opportunity International using their mobile truck to reach the rural poor that are very difficult to reach through traditional bank channels. And so we love that truck because it's very, it's just a great image of the Opportunity brand, I think. Opportunity International also shares our passion for savings. Opportunity International's institutions in Africa are leaders in the microfinance industry's delivery of savings services to the poor, and they're continuously looking for new ways to provide better products to that segment of the market. And I think it's actually really reflected in their results. Opportunity International has opened, I think, roughly 600,000 deposit accounts in Africa. Opportunity Bank of Malawi, look at 2007 and then Q3 2009. Q3 2009, Opportunity International, in those 2 years, Opportunity International Bank of Malawi doubled the number of savings accounts that they had, doubled the number of savings accounts. So that's the kinds of results that we're very excited about. Opportunity International also shares our passion and commitment to tackle the delivery problem of savings. Since savings services are so costly to deliver, we have to find new delivery models that will decrease the cost of each transaction. And Opportunity International is doing that through mini branches, kiosk, mobile trucks, and even third-party agents that are able to provide transaction services. And most of all, we're continuously impressed by Opportunity International's leadership and the leadership in their partner institutions. And without these leaders and their commitment, their experience in financial services, and their innovation, we wouldn't be where we are today. So if you could go back one slide, I think here we have, I don't know if you recognize her, but that woman there is Melinda Gates, Bill Gates' wife, and she, as a reflection of just how important this relationship with Opportunity International is, she traveled to Malawi earlier this year to go visit Opportunity International Bank of Malawi. And that's a pretty big deal at the foundation. And so here she is. Yeah. And here she is in a line at a mobile truck talking to people who are saving 100 kwacha, and that's 65 cents. So it was a great trip. She really enjoyed it. So before I depart, I want you to think back to the beginning of the conversation and think back to Punza. And think back to Punza's pocket or bag or wherever she keeps her valuables. What do you think she has in there? She probably has some cash, a little bit of cash, maybe the 100 kwacha she wants to save. And she probably these days has a phone. And you're probably asking yourself, phone, are you kidding me? But surprising as it may seem, these days, the majority of the world's poor have or have access to a phone. Even in rural towns where they might not have water, electricity. I mean, it's amazing to me that I get better mobile phone service when I'm in the middle of Africa than when I do when I'm in Seattle in my office. So now imagine if that phone functioned like an ATM. And imagine if this store in her community imagine if that phone functioned like an ATM card. And imagine if that store in her community functioned like an ATM. And imagine if Punza could go to that community store and put money on her phone, in her bank account, and send money to her mother who's 100 miles away, and maybe pay a bill that she has to pay. Imagine I mean, we at the foundation are really excited about opportunities like this because we want to see people like Punza to be able to access financial services locally in their community in the places where they feel welcomed and that they can easily reach. And we also want to see banks be able to decrease the cost of delivering those services so that they can increasingly go farther down market and provide an even, a better service to the poor that we care about. Opportunity National Bank of Malawi is starting to deliver financial services through exactly this, I think even the small retail shops, so small retail shops like this, and also through mobile phones. And we're excited to see them do this work and to continue sharing in the partnership as they explore these new opportunities. Because we believe that models like these will provide 2 billion people living under $2 a day with access to affordable, proximate, and safe savings accounts that are commercially viable for banks. Thank you.